XRP holders, welcome back to the Crypto ZX channel. Let's talk about what's happening with the price of XRP as we are going into Saturday morning. At this point, you guys should know what's happening with the broader market. We're seeing a massive green day across the board. You could see for yourself a lot of coins up quite a bit. Again, a continuous reminder for you guys to kind of zoom out and really see that on a monthly time frame. We're still seeing significant retracement for a lot of coins, but nonetheless, it was a massive day, and that overall momentum is still carrying on as we are starting off the new weekend. But again, before we get into any further, as always, just a quick disclaimer: anything on this channel is not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence and research when you are investing in crypto. So you're looking at the price of XRP as of November the 8th at $2.33, up 4.1% on the USD side of things, also up 3.7% on the Bitcoin side of things, with the valuation approaching $140 billion. And if you're looking at the 24-hour trading volume at about $5.7 billion. Take a look at this. Nearly half of ETF investors plan to buy a crypto ETF. A new Schwab survey found 52% plan to invest in US equity ETFs, 45% plan to buy crypto ETFs, tied with bonds for second place. Among millennials, 57% say they'll invest in crypto ETFs. Bloomberg's Eric, shocking to see crypto tied with bonds, majorly punching above weight. Crypto ETFs are quickly becoming mainstream. And in my opinion, we're just at the start of these ETFs emerging. And I think, as time goes by, we're going to see this become a norm. Big stuff, of course. But take a look at this. JP Morgan just revealed a $343 million IBIT Bitcoin ETF exposure. That's an increase of 64% since June, guys. The biggest bank on the planet is accumulating Bitcoin, and this exact bank a few years back was against the crypto market in general, and you could say that about a lot of industry leaders, but yet you're seeing now a lot of support towards the industry, not just within Bitcoin, but a lot of digital assets, and they're making digital assets platforms, so on and so forth, because they understand where this industry really is going. And again, if you compare it with the other markets, we're still really small in comparison to that. But take a look at this. Nate says Wisdom Tree files for CoinDesk 20 ETF. Will hold 20 largest digital assets by market cap that are eligible for inclusion in index. It's clear CoinDesk aggressively seeking to position within crypto indexing space, which I think will be massive. What does an index mean? So index is massive as well because it gives people more exposure. So if you buy an ETF that is that's pretty much consistent like in a index ETF, you're consistent of multiple coins that make up, in this case, 20 coins that would make up that specific index. And look at the breakdown here. So, the breakdown here is here, Bitcoin at 31%, Ethereum at 21.38%, XRP at 19.6%, and Solana at 13.63%. Remember, the comparison between Solana and XRP, we're starting to hear that quite a bit because, Solana chain itself is quite massive. The native token is, one of the best performing assets in the crypto space over the last, 1.5 to 2 years. So, the comparison is always there, even from the institutional standpoint, the interest that you're seeing within these two coins is quite massive. And Solana obviously has that ETF, the number Solana is pulling for the ETF is really, really impressive. And then obviously the question comes, whether or not XRP is going to do that and even higher. And that's where, the comparison lies. And it's going to be very exciting once the XRP ETF does launch. But take a look at this XRP ETF, talking about that. Canary Capital posted this: XRPC coming soon, Canary XRP ETF. And you can see this information is the information in this prospectus is not complete and may be changed. The securities may not be sold until the registration statement filed with the Securities Exchange Commission is effective. So we need to keep in mind there is still a chance that we could see a little bit of a hiccup coming in between, but I think it's inevitable at this point that we do see XRP ETF launching, maybe even at the end of the month, which would be amazing to see. But let's continue to take a look at this. You look at see Evernorth XRP posted this. Proud moment for our team in the heart of Times Square. Thank you to NASDAQ for the warm welcome and recognition of this exciting milestone. We're proud to be building an active digital asset treasury focused on institutional yield strategies and ecosystem participants. And we need to keep in mind Evernorth, a company that is building the biggest treasury for XRP, and obviously they have went public, and this is pretty much their banner on Wall Street. No, sorry, not Wall Street. This is Nasdaq office, and you can see for yourself they have pretty much had their banner pretty much on there, which itself is quite a remarkable thing. But take a look at this. Shout out to Smoke. XRP shows no signs of a value bubble as Ripple technology outshines Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I can, say to the technology aspect, I think we haven't really even tested the potential of that just yet. But with the green light for institutions and most importantly financial institutions, I think that's where you could really see the technology itself really start to gain momentum. But let's take a look at what's happening with the crypto market. You could see for yourself dominance continuing to plunge. Dominance saw a massive retracement over the last 24 hours, and as I mentioned in my HBAR update along with the internet computer update, that is the major catalyst behind a massive green day, as you could see across the board. But you could see this arrow that I drew in my last update. This is pretty much indicating that Bitcoin is still not in the safe end of the spectrum. You could see for yourself Bitcoin. Here, let me kind of get rid of these drawings because this might confuse you guys. So let's kind of get rid of this. So Bitcoin is currently still hovering around the $102,300 price point. And again, we're far off to where we really need to be. 23.6 is the bare minimum level. We need to be above 117 confirmation for me to be bullish. But Bitcoin is barely, anywhere close to the 23.6s, yet you're seeing so much green across the board, double digit gainers for a lot of altcoins. And that is due to the dominance. But the reason I drew this here is because let's say Bitcoin does hover back below the 38.2, gets back into the 0.50, that would make the price go back below 100,000, which I still think is very possible. If that were to happen, I think a dominance could pick up. So that is what I want you guys to keep in mind. But there's some analysts in the crypto space saying, whether or not the altcoin season has begun. And, we're going to start to see the altcoin season pretty much going into January, and then, pretty much just seeing things kind of cool off. Again, historically speaking, in the previous bull markets, we have seen something similar playing out. But again, we've got to still look for confirmation. Bitcoin, in order for an altcoin season to really begin, you need Bitcoin to stay stagnant or, trade sideways and not see major swings up and down, because that could cause the dominance to be all over the place. If that were to be the case, you potentially could see an altcoin season occurring. And if Bitcoin even starts to head back up to some of the key levels and dominance continues to do the complete opposite and, show weakness, that could also cause altcoins to see more upside. XRP, on the other hand, you can see for yourself $2.32 right now. Again, let's take a look at the price of XRP on an hourly perspective. You can see for yourself XRP's price, was sitting literally last night at $2.15. We saw a nice bounce at about a 10% move. So quite an impressive move for XRP. But once again, we're having a hard time breaking above, the 38.2 key resistance. You can see for yourself, since breaking below here on November 3rd, we've seen 3 different retests, and all 3 times it's been a rejection. But we want to break above here. If we're able to do that, I do personally believe, we could start reclaiming back up to the $2.50 key range. But, the question that I got, from someone is that, whether or not I think, XRP's price is priced in for the ETF. I personally think we're close to it, but I don't think we're pretty much priced in. I think, maybe around, 23.6 or the, close to that key range, we should be priced in around the $3 price point. But again, that's just me speculating. Obviously, time is going to tell as to what really happens. But let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Thank you so much for all your support. And yeah, let me know whether or not you think this is the start to an altcoin season. We'll see you later when Crypto ZX and